How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Well, in today's video, we'll be answering this question. First of all, we'll be using the version that says could in the beginning instead of would, so we don't have to deal with the problem that a woodchuck would probably not want to chuck wood every second it could. Now let's get started. One of the traditional answers to this question is a woodchuck would chuck as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, or so much wood would a woodchuck chuck as a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Both of these are probably not the answer you are looking for. Another answer can be found in the tongue twister itself. It says if a woodchuck could chuck wood, which naturally implies that a woodchuck can't chuck wood, which means the answer to how much wood could a woodchuck chuck is none. Now obviously woodchucks don't look like they can't chuck wood. They have arms, so they should be able to chuck wood. But then comes the second issue of answering this question. The word chuck could have a different meaning. The most common one is to throw carelessly, but according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it can also mean to tap. If it means to throw wood, it's complicated. First of all, woodchucks don't chuck wood, instead they chuck dirt when they make their barrows. However, if we assume that a woodchuck could chuck as much dirt as wood, according to what Richard Thompson, a biologist, said in 1988, a woodchuck could chuck 700 pounds of wood over the course of a day. But a tongue twister never specified what period of time the woodchuck would be chucking wood, so the answer would be infinite. That is, if woodchucks were immortal, which they are not. So assuming the lifespan of a woodchuck is 3 years, that means that a woodchuck could chuck a grand total of 766,500 pounds of wood. And that's the end of this video, right? But what about if the tongue twister means the other definition of chuck, tap? Let's assume a woodchuck could tap wood twice a second. That means in an hour, a woodchuck could tap wood 7,200 times. Woodchucks usually sleep for 16 hours a day. We'll set aside 2 hours for foraging, which means that a woodchuck would have 6 hours of free time to tap wood. That would mean in a day that a woodchuck could tap wood 43,200 times, which means in the course of its lifetime, a woodchuck could chuck, according to the second definition, 47,304,000 times. So now you can sleep in peace knowing that either a woodchuck could chuck wood either 47,304,000 times, or it could chuck 766,500 pounds of wood.